The Christian notion of freedom is different than what we're used to thinking about, because it includes a connection to God, who is our sovereign, master, king, or Lord, and we his subjects or even slaves. As we are connected to him, we have a new capacity that he builds within us to do new things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And therein lies the freedom that we have as Christians. Sort of like a kite that flies and has newfound freedom in movement because it has that very connection to the kite flyer who guides it. Or even a piano player who can play whatever he or she wants to on that piano, but because there has been a discipline in following the teacher or guide, a certain regimen that has been followed so that newfound freedom can happen. That's what it means to be free in a Christian sense. It's not just a freedom from an authority, freedom from things that would inhibit us from doing what we want, but it is a freedom for God's things that he wants us to do, freedom for his cause, freedom for his kingdom, because he has built something new in us. Now, what is it that he wants us to do? What is the discipline that he has given us, or the regimen that he has given us, so that we have that new capacity to do his thing? What is that thing that he wants? Because Jesus does want to be our teacher and he our guide. And he wants us to be his servants or slaves in the sense of following him. He even uses those metaphors a few different times in his teachings. One of those teachings is in Matthew chapter 11, where he says this: "Come to me, all of you who are weak and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So even though we're his slaves to follow him and to do his bidding, here he says that what we're supposed to do is easy and it's good. Jesus says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. A yoke back in Jesus' time was a wooden beam that would go across the shoulders of animals, and there would be leather straps tied to some sort of burden, or usually a plow behind it, so they could pull it along. Jesus says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He was talking in contrast with the Jewish religious leaders of his day. They had a yoke that was not easy and a burden that was not light. They had all of these rules that you had to follow. You had to dress a certain way, you had to eat a certain way, you had to work a certain way, you had to play or celebrate a certain way. You had to go to church or synagogue a certain way, and of course you had to do the moral law a certain way. And Jesus says, wow, what a bummer. That is not an easy yoke or a light burden. That is a heavy one. How would anyone think that God would ever love them or accept them when there were all of these things that you had to do? No, Jesus says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And the regimen that I want you to follow as my subjects is simply this: love. Love one another as I have loved you. Have the discipline every day of remembering the fact that I am gentle and humble and good and compassionate. As your Lord and Master, that's who I am. I, Jesus, will give myself on the cross for you so that you will know the depth of my love. Remember that. Every day, moment to moment, remember that. And as you remember, you will have this new capacity, this new freedom to love in ways that you have never loved before. Because you have been loved first and you know the depth of my love, you will have that freedom because you won't fear what anyone thinks of you, because you know that you have been loved so dearly and unconditionally by me. You will have that newfound freedom to love in reckless and wonderful ways. And therein lies the Christian freedom.